So I'm watching Bleach for the first time in my life, and I finally caught up. And yes, that includes the latest episode of Thousand-Year Blood War that just came out. And now that I'm here, I gotta say, the Bleach anime surpassed my expectations tenfold, 100 times over. It was way better than anything I even had in mind. I thought I was simply gonna enjoy it. It was gonna be a good anime. It ended up being one of my favorites, if not my favorite anime of all time. And of course, that includes Thousand-Year Blood War and Cour 3, which I just finished up. And Cour 3 of Thousand-Year Blood War is still ongoing. It's still airing, but it's already been amazing. I mean, the first, alright, so who's gonna stop him? And that's not to mention the other fight that's going on this episode, Uryu versus Senjumaru. Uryu is stuck in Senjumaru's bond. Aizen's role in part 3, I loved it. Oh, I love Aizen. He's one of my favorites. And that was episode 1. And the other episodes of Cour 3, oh, they are on that level. The second episode starts with a Yhwach flashback of him and the Soul King before everything was divided, death, life, etc. Anyways, Ichigo and the crew arrive to where Yhwach is at, and Ichigo says, "We've come to stop you." And I know Yhwach probably laughed because he saw Ganju, and what is Ganju gonna do? Anyways, Ichigo and Yhwach, as early as episode 2, I was not expecting this. But I was here for it because this was the best animated fight. You gotta calm down, Ichigo. You're not gonna kill Yhwach. But it was a beautifully animated fight. We got to see how Ichigo fares against Yhwach after his training. But then Yhwach says, "Look, I have not been using my eyes this entire fight." And I'm like, damn, like that is true. This is when the real fight starts, and Yhwach starts using his power, and Ichigo loses. It wasn't a close fight. We get a scene down in the Soul Society. We see that Momo has healed a couple Soul Reapers. Ukitake is healing Kenpachi. And Urahara gets asked the question, if the conflict is between the Quincy's and the Soul Reapers, how come the Quincy's went up to the royal palace without killing you? You saw the power that the Soul King has. The Soul King can see all 3 realms, the world of the living, Hueco Mundo, the Soul Society. He even saw his father. He's gonna take his power and he's gonna create a new world. Then we see Ichigo get back up and he tells Yhwach, "I'm gonna stop you. I'm gonna protect the Soul Society." Yhwach tells Ichigo, "The Quincy blood inside of you won't let that happen." Little did I know how important this little piece of dialogue would actually end up being. And in between all of this, we get a scene of Ichibe where he says, "I'm sorry, humans, y'all won't be able to stop Yhwach." But that's what peace is all about, isn't that right? And this is clearly building Ichibe up to be a shady character, somebody that we can't quite trust. And it sucks because I liked Ichibe. But now Ichigo is gonna have to kill you because, you know, you're not gonna backdoor my friends. But back to Ichigo and Yhwach, they're all fighting. Yhwach pulls Soul Society with your own hands. I've already foreseen this. The Quincy blood inside of you will never forgive the Soul King. And the Quincy blood inside of Ichigo, in fact, did not forgive the Soul King. Ichigo takes the all over the world, all across all 3 realms. Tatsuki's looking at her soul ticket. Urahara's questioning, is the Soul King dead? Yhwach tells Ichigo, "Come, let's watch the end of the world together." Are you crazy? But this sets up one of the best episodes in Cour 3, the Dark Arm. Episode starts off, Ukitake says, "I guess I just gotta take the Soul King's place." What are you talking about? Everybody is as visibly confused as me. How are you gonna take the Soul King's place? But here we get an S-tier flashback that explains all of it, and it is amazing. Since the Soul Society arc, I have been questioning the purpose of Ukitake's sickness. They obviously wrote it in for a reason. They're not gonna give him a sickness as like an ass pull. Oh, well, Ukitake died to a sickness. This isn't Naruto. No, I'm playing. I love Naruto. But Ukitake has bared this sickness since he was a child, and he got saved by the right arm of the Soul King Mimihagi. And throughout this flashback, we see Ukitake's interactions with Shunsui, his reaction to the death of Kai, and we even see him talking to Unohana before Unohana goes out and fights with Kenpachi. And Ukitake tells Unohana that he will be seeing her very shortly. Anyways, Ukitake ends up summoning Mimihage, so he is now the right arm of the Soul King himself. Rukia is not happy watching Ukitake sacrifice himself, but Ukitake hits us with that one line that we've known since the very beginning of Bleach. There are 2 kinds of battles. A battle to protect lives, or a battle to protect honor. And we see Shunsui reflecting on these words, and he says, "I know what type of battle I've chosen. It's time we had a talk, Aizen." So what this moment told me is that Shunsui is completely disregarding his own honor and going to ask Aizen for help, because in his mind, that is what is going to help save lives. And while all of this is happening, Ichigo and the crew is still fighting Yhwach, and Mimihage makes its way up to the royal palace, and Yhwach says that he didn't foresee that. And later we find out it's because the Almighty is not able to foresee things from the Soul King. But back to what's important, the episode doesn't end off until we see a dialogue between Shunsui and Aizen. Shunsui helps free Aizen a little bit, only his mouth, his left eye, and his ankles. Shunsui pops the question, "Aizen, do you want to leave this place?" Aizen tells him, "I don't recall asking you to set me free." Aizen also calls out the fact that Shunsui has the key to the jail buried inside of his chest, which was a requirement requirements set by Central 46, which sets Aizen off. But Shunsui tells Aizen, yo, if you just sit in this chair, I can take you up to the Soul Society. And the dumbest character in Bleach shows up, tries to restrain Aizen and gets his fingers cut off. Such a cool scene when Aizen is explaining, these restraints don't eliminate my spiritual pressure, they only keep it in close proximity to me. Shunsui tells Aizen, if you take a moment, I think you'll realize we share a common interest. And the episode ends off with Aizen cursing the Soul Society, the pathetic, corrupt Soul Society about to be crushed by Yhwach. 10 out of 10 episode. And it continues in episode 30, A Thousand-Year Blood War. We got Yhwach versus Mimihagi. Ichigo overpowers the Quincy blood holding him back and he stops Yhwach. And in the background, Yoruichi is putting in work herself until she gets shot by Uryu. And I guess Kubo decided, no, that's not enough. We gotta torture Yoruichi even further because she gets attacked by a Stern Ritter. Very interesting and unique Stern Ritter. Keep an eye out for this thing. Ichigo tries to attack Yhwach, gets shot at by Uryu. And here we get the beginning of Uryu versus Ichigo. I love this fight. Uryu in the entirety of Cour 3 so far has been absolutely unstoppable. Ichigo tells Uryu what's at stake. Uryu says he already knows that. He's fighting because he's a Quincy. And I don't believe him. I don't believe him for a second. I could be, a little bit too skeptical. I think that he has some type of ulterior motive. The way that he spoke to Ichigo came from a very caring place. The way that he shot Yoruichi was not in a critical point, which we know Uryu is a sharpshooter. We know he could if he wanted to. At this point, I couldn't tell you why he's siding with Yhwach. I just choose to believe it's for a good reason. Anyways, we're finally here. Uryu versus Ichigo, another animated masterpiece. Uryu hits Ichigo with an arrow, and it's at this point I think Uryu realizes Ichigo has Quincy blood. This is peak. Oh, this is peak. Ichigo fires off a Getsuga, stands above Uryu and doesn't kill him, but he tells him, come back, you're one of us. The voice acting in dub, so good. Uryu powers up though and he turns into an absolute monster. He's firing projectiles that fire projectiles. Do not put this in a fighting game. The fight between Uryu and Ichigo is ongoing outside. I know this fight came out over a month ago. If you haven't rewatched it since, I highly encourage you do it. This fight is so good. I know I keep saying that, but this is one of my favorite episodes in Thousand-Year Blood War. But the fight ends with Uryu lifting up his bow and shooting right through Ichigo. I know it's a little wild for me to sit here and try to tell y'all that I still think Uryu is a good person and he's on the right side, but I genuinely think if Uryu wanted to kill Ichigo right there, he could have shot right through him, but he shot off left, and I think all of this is on purpose. And the episode ends off with Yhwach absorbing the Soul King's power. We see the effects of this in episode 31 of Thousand-Year Blood War when eyeball monsters start flooding in through the Soul Shield membrane. Say that 5 times fast. And then we see one of the coldest entrances in Bleach. I love this moment. We see the pulse of strong spiritual pressure. The monsters are being crushed and it's Aizen. Why would you swat them away with a sword when you can crush them under your spiritual pressure? You know nobody has spiritual pressure like you. He's saying that just to flex. He's being an asshole. He's congratulating Ruki on being a lieutenant like he didn't try to kill her in the Soul Society arc. The captains are rightfully not very happy with this decision, but Shunsui tells them protecting our honor is not going to help us protect the world. And then another one of my favorite scenes. I know I'm spamming that phrase, but truthfully, Hado number 90. I was so hyped to see the GOAT back in action. We didn't see him in the Fullbringer arc. We saw him for one scene in Cour 1. We saw him for 2 seconds in Cour 2. It's about damn time that we saw Aizen do something electric. He does Hado number 90, destruction all around him. The only thing that survives is that chair. That chair must be infused with the Hogyoku, I swear. We even get a statement from Urahara himself that says that Aizen got stronger in confinement since the time that he fought Ichigo. And then Aizen delivers another epic moment. Ruki is like, we need to head up to the Royal Palace. Aizen's like, if you got business at the Royal Palace, I can just shoot it down for you. What are you talking about? He tries to do it and he would have, but keep in mind, he has restraints on him to keep his spiritual pressure close to his body. Mayuri then shows up and Aizen tells Mayuri, look, put those restraints on the maximum. Let's see which is stronger, your technology or my power. Why is he such an asshole? But then the hype is ruined because the Stern Ritter shows up and paralyzes Aizen for a little bit. Not in my book. I'm gonna pretend I didn't see that. Thankfully, Baz B ends up shooting that guy and they request a ceasefire from the Soul Reapers. They want to kill Yhwach because Yhwach tried killing them. And being fair, being honest, Baz B is not the answer. He is not going to be the Yhwach killer. We all know it's gonna be Chad. But in all seriousness, now we get a really cool scene where Shunsui is calling everybody from the Soul Society to gather up. Seeing everybody from the Soul Society, no matter how weak or how little screen time, pitching a little bit of their spiritual pressure to get the main characters to the Royal Palace. I love seeing the unity of the Soul Society. Quincy's helping out too. Even Aizen notices this. Aizen even points out the irony. The person that stopped him ended up making it to the Royal Palace before he did. We pan to Ichigo and we get a cool scene of the crew. Orihime is there. She's been healing everybody. Kon apparently saved Ichigo from his fall. And the episode ends off with a portal to Hueco Mundo opening up. And who's there other than Grimmjow? They've been teasing Grimmjow throughout Thousand-Year Blood War. And he's finally here. Safe to say, I'm hype. I'm hype. And it's not just Grimmjow because it's also Nell. Urahara made Nell a bracelet to let her stay in her adult form. So she's gonna go crazy in Thousand-Year Blood War. And the Fullbringers are here too, I guess. They're actually not here to be offensive powerhouses, but their powers were so unique that they needed them in order to even get close to Yhwach and the Royal Guards. And I should mention that this moment also made one of the Bleach movies canon. Meanwhile, we see the Wanda and Right getting carried away, and the Soul Reapers are worried that maybe their spiritual pressure won't be enough. Well, thankfully, Mayuri has a spiritual pressure amplifier. Well, that sounds useful. And while all of this is going on, Yhwach has achieved his final form. He looks extremely creepy, and all the Stern Ritters just as creeped out as I am, except for Jugram. I don't know what his deal is, but he's extremely unique, and I can tell that there's something deeper to his character, and I'm waiting for the moment that we get to see it. And after this, we get a cut back to Ichigo's crew, and I want to mention a small little moment that might not be that significant, but I liked a lot. Ganju tells Ichigo, "You've grown up," and then thinks about it. Maybe not. You've always been that way. Little pieces of dialogue like that really highlight the strengths of Ichigo's character. I always enjoy moments like that. Very subtle, but very powerful. And the episode ends off by seeing everybody make it to the Royal Palace. Urahara's crew, Ichigo's crew, they're all at the Royal Palace. And it's been replaced by the Wanda and Reich. We see Mayuri went off on his own, except for the fact that he accidentally brought Kenpachi and Squad 11 alongside him, with Hanataru as well. Shout out Hanataru, honorary Squad 11 member. He deserves it. But everybody is rushing to get to Yhwach and be the first one to kill him. We start seeing fights go down. Grimmjow versus Askin being the first one. We also see Soul Reapers getting picked off left and right by the X-Axis ability. And we see the beginning of one of my favorite fights in Thousand-Year Blood War. Renji versus Uryu. I did get a little bit spoiled about this fight. I knew that it went down, and I know that it's an anime exclusive, but I didn't know who won. But just hearing the matchup, I could assume who lost, right? But Renji put up a really good fight. I don't want to overlook that. I know it's funny. Oh, haha, Renji loses, but he's a great character and he put up a hell of a fight. There was one scene where he kicked Uryu's arrow up. What the? Like, that was so unexpected. I'm sorry. The animation was amazing. The emotions were there because I remember watching Uryu and Renji work together in the Arankar arc, and now they're fighting each other. And I really think Renji could have won that fight if he fought with the intention to kill. Uryu at the end of the fight said, "There's 3 reasons why you lost to me. Number 1, you didn't have the intent to kill me. And then the other 2 reasons were him flexing." And I find that so interesting because the first fight in Bleach that we really hear about the intent to kill affecting how strong you are is Ichigo versus Renji, and now it's come full circle. The writing so good. Easily an S tier fight. S tier fight. And episode 34 of Thousand-Year Blood War just as good. This is the Mayuri versus Pernida episode. Funny enough, Kenpachi is the one to encounter Pernida first, and we know how Kenpachi fights. Straight up rushes in, loses a right arm. It's cool because he cracked his head open. Alright, you know, that's the way he fights, and that's why I love him. Kenpachi ends up having to rip his arm off. You know, there goes Kendo. Tries to recklessly rush in against Pernida one more time, and he gets stabbed through the chest by Mayuri. And just off those few interactions, Mayuri has already been able to figure out the way that Pernida's power works. Such an adaptive fighter. Mayuri is so unique in his fighting style. Pernida loses it, and this is when we see his true nature. We find out that Pernida is actually the left arm of the Soul King. When they showed off that Pernida was the left arm of the Soul King, I found it interesting how Mimihagi, the right arm of the Soul King, is fighting alongside the Soul Reapers and against Yhwach, yet the left arm of the Soul King is fighting with Yhwach and alongside the Quincy's. And I want to mention this, now that I'm caught up with the Bleach anime, I've been a lot more in tune with what's going on in the Bleach community. I've been seeing a lot of people making fun of the CGI in this episode. Oh, how is this anime of the year? This is garbage. You know, people just clowning on Bleach for the CGI. I think number one, I think people are just miserable. I think a lot of people just find something to complain about. I would be blatantly lying to you guys if I said that there weren't moments in this fight that looked a little bit silly. Yeah, the CGI wasn't the greatest thing of all time, but I'm also not somebody that's gonna let CGI ruin an anime for me or ruin an episode for me. I think if that happened, you know, CGI is the least of my concerns. But you know, people value different things. I guess if CGI is that big of a concern to you and it ruins Thousand-Year Blood War, you know, you do you, I guess. Miss out on greatness. Anyways, back to the fight. Great fight. Mayuri crushed. Explosive reactive armor comes off. And he pulls out the Quincy hoverboards? What the hell? I was not familiar with Mayuri's arsenal, but I'm gonna let him have it because he looks awesome. We even get a scene where he reconfigures all the nerve endings in his hands. Mayuri is able to fight off Pernida, but he's also deducing everything about Pernida throughout this fight. And then Mayuri pulls out the Bankai. I've always had a special place for Mayuri's Bankai because it was the first Bankai that we get to see in Bleach. But this Bankai was not the same as that Bankai. Mayuri goes as far as to call this an altered Bankai that he created. And it's able to give birth to a new, this thing. Anyways, this glowing radioactive baby has 7,000 separate layers of nerve endings on the outside of its body. Basically, Pernida is gonna have to spend its entire life trying to get to the bottom of it. It seems to me this version of Bankai is the Pernida counter, which is exactly what I mean when I say that Mayuri is an adaptive fighter. And this new altered Bankai goes to show that. And Pernida gets ate by the Bankai. Very unique. Very unique ending to the fight. I can't say that was on my bingo card, right? It's so stupid. The episode ends off with Mayuri laughing like a maniac. Evil character. Bad guy. But I love him. Anyways, episode 35 of Thousand-Year Blood War just dropped. I'm gonna go watch it. I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna give y'all my thoughts. 10 out of 10 episode. I don't know. 10 out of 10 episodes. Shunsuis Bankai. We got to see it. At the beginning of the episode, they show that Pernida isn't dead. Pernida fighting out. That's not the point of this episode. It's all about Shunsui this time. So Shunsui ends up fighting against X-Axis. And Shunsui, to me, ever since the Arrancar arc where he fought against Stark, I've always thought he had one of the most unique Shikais in all of Bleach. So we all know that Shunsui Shikai has to deal with children's games. His Bankai, now I could be wrong though, I'm just an anime watcher, a mere anime watcher, haven't read the manga. His Bankai seems to deal with theatrical plays. I mean, considering he was Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. I know I'm getting ahead of myself. The fight up until the Bankai, really good fight. Shunsui was taking a lot of damage. He was taking a lot of punishment. I'm gonna throw this image up. One of my favorite moments of the episode. There's sometimes as a non-manga reader where you look at an anime and you're like, that was definitely a fire manga panel. Like they were trying to give that manga panel justice. I've seen it a couple times throughout this arc. And Star Ritter X, what an unsettling transformation. I was not expecting it, but I suppose that's to be expected from the first person to get powers from Yhwach. This episode was simply fantastic. I remember back in the Soul Society arc, I was like, how come Chad didn't beat Shunsui? And now I know why. Judging by how many episodes we have left in Bleach, I don't think that we'll see his Bankai again. Of course, I could be wrong, but there's something about seeing a Bankai just one time. I love Toshiro, love Byakuya, but there's something novel about preserving the mystique of a Bankai. Like Yamamoto, like Unohana, we've only seen their Bankai one time, and there's still characters in Bleach that we have to see their Bankai. Like Urahara, I'm sure knows Bankai. Kenpachi is definitely gonna use Bankai at some point. You know, there's something to that. It almost makes the moment feel that much more special, and that's how I felt watching this episode. I really can't believe it's been under 2 months. I've caught up to Bleach in under 2 months. Like I said at the beginning of this video, completely blew my expectations out of the water, and the fact that I've been growing this YouTube channel alongside my Bleach journey, it just made everything that much more enjoyable. The Bleach community, all of y'all have been extremely supportive. Y'all have been extremely informative. Some of y'all leave comments that are 2-3 paragraphs long, and it's the most interesting read of my life. Y'all have explained stuff that's gone over my head. Y'all have explained stuff that as an anime watcher I wouldn't know because it differs from the manga, etc. There's so much that I know about Bleach that I wouldn't know if it wasn't for y'all. Thank y'all for making Bleach that much more enjoyable. I can't wait to drop the video where I go into everything that I've loved about Bleach, everything that made me fall in love with it. Believe me, this is not everything I want to say about Bleach. There's so much more I want to say that I have to put in its own video. It's going to be a big synopsis about the series itself. I also created a Twitch because I plan to go live after new Bleach episodes come out to talk about them. So follow the Twitch if you're interested. It's going to be in the description down below. Just because I caught up doesn't mean the Bleach videos are over. It means the Bleach videos just started because now I can talk about everything. I have so many great video ideas lined up and I hope that y'all stick around to enjoy them. If you haven't subscribed yet and you're interested in that, please make sure to subscribe. Thank y'all for nearly 5,000 subscribers in under 2 months. Ridiculous. Love Bleach. Top one all time.